My stepsister begged me to co-sign her $85,000 life-changing brand loan. "You're my only hope," she cried. 2 months later, she vanished to Dubai with her shady fiancé and sent a voice note. "Enjoy the debt, sis." I laughed, because before they even landed, the storm had already started. I never wanted to be the dependable one. It just happened, slowly, over years of whispered obligations and quiet sacrifices. That night, as I stood in the farthest corner of the rooftop venue, watching Lena laugh under strings of golden lights, all I could think about was the number 85,000. That was the loan amount. My name was on it. And Lena, my stepsister, my mother's darling, the girl who could cry her way out of a car crash, was using every cent to throw this extravagant launch party for her so-called wellness brand. I remember the exact moment she asked me to co-sign. Her mascara had already started to run, and Clarissa, my stepmother, sat beside her, dabbing her eyes like this was a funeral and not a strategy. "She just needs a boost, Maya," Clarissa had said, her voice sweet and poisonous. "She has a real vision. Her followers are waiting. If the bank won't approve it alone, that's what family is for." Roger, my father, just stared at his shoes like he always did. No input. No protest. Not even a glance my way. "We'll pay it back," Lena had added, gripping my hand like she meant it. "The brand's going to explode. I just need help getting started." I should have said no. God knows I wanted to. But the weight of all the years I spent playing backup pianist to Lena's solo performance made it feel impossible. So I agreed, but with a safety net. Dana, my best friend since college and a corporate lawyer with a memory like a steel trap, helped me craft a clause buried deep in the agreement. It stated clearly that if the borrower, Lena, defaulted on payments or left the country without a repayment plan, full liability would shift to all original co-signers, namely Clarissa and Roger. We kept the language legal, tight, and unnoticeable. Dana called it insurance. I called it survival. Now here I was, sipping flat champagne while Lena smiled for the photographers, her new fiancé Kellen, slick in a custom suit, wrapping his arms around her waist like he'd struck gold. Maybe he had. I just hadn't realized yet that the gold was stolen from my future. "You're quiet," said a voice behind me. I turned to see one of Lena's friends, some influencer whose name I'd forgotten. "Aren't you proud of her?" Proud? I swallowed the bitterness. Just enjoying the view. That was what Lena had always been. Viewed, adored, applauded. When we were teenagers, she got Clarissa's full attention and wardrobe privileges. I got Excel spreadsheets and a part-time job at a sandwich shop to build character. When I was 24, Dad had a heart attack. Clarissa said they couldn't afford his surgery. I cashed out my savings and covered the $35,000 bill. The same month, Lena flew to Bali for a healing retreat. Maya the reliable. Maya the responsible. Maya the fool. I didn't stay long at the launch. Just enough time to watch Clarissa give a speech about believing in dreams and supporting family. I kept my face neutral, but my stomach twisted. It felt like watching a movie I'd already seen, but now I knew how it ended. 3 weeks passed. I buried myself in work. I'm a forensic accountant. Ironic, I know, tracking money trails for corporate fraud cases. Numbers don't lie, which is maybe why I trust them more than people. Then one Tuesday morning, the ping came. An automated alert. Lena and Kellen had purchased 2 one-way tickets to Dubai. 3 hours later, a missed payment notice hit my inbox. The clause was now active. I took a deep breath, forwarded everything to the loan agency, and called Dana. She didn't say anything at first, just let out a long, low whistle. She really did it. "She always does," I said. The next day, Clarissa stormed into my office like a hurricane dressed in silk. "You tricked us," she hissed, slamming her manicured hands on my desk. "You said you were helping." I didn't flinch. I did help. I just finally learned to help myself too. Roger trailed behind her, pale and silent. Same as ever. "Do you realize what you've done?" Clarissa spat. "They're freezing our accounts. The house is under review. Your father's pension was saved by me." I interrupted, my voice calm. "Remember? When you said we couldn't afford his surgery. But you could afford to send Lena to Europe. That was different, she snapped. No, I said. It wasn't. Clarissa started crying, real or not. I didn't care anymore. You're punishing us for helping your sister. I stood slowly.
No.
I'm just finally stopping the punishment you've put me through for 15 years. They left without another word. That night, I poured a glass of wine, opened Lena's latest Instagram post, her and Kellen on a yacht, drinks in hand, and read the caption. Living our best life, debt-free and destiny-bound. #ShockerQueen, #no regrets. I took a screenshot. Just in case. There was no apology. No explanation. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. But honestly, I didn't expect any. I had learned a long time ago that guilt was only felt by people who still respected the people they hurt. When the second loan notice came in, I sent it straight to the agency along with Lena and Kellen's flight records, payment logs, and copies of social media posts showing they'd had no intention of paying anything back. Dana helped prepare a package for the fraud department. We didn't embellish. We didn't need to. The facts spoke louder than fiction ever could. Think they'll come back? She asked me one night as we reviewed the case. No, I said, but even then, I knew that wasn't the end. They always come back when the money runs out. I didn't expect the fallout to happen so fast. Within a week of forwarding the clause documents, the loan agency froze Clarissa and Roger's accounts. Their joint savings vanished in a blink, redirected toward the outstanding balance. The phone at my desk wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown numbers. Voicemails full of panic. Clarissa's voice pleading, "You need to fix this, Maya. We're being harassed. Your father's pension is at risk. This isn't what family does." Funny, I thought. Because for most of my life, this is exactly what family did. At least mine. They took and I gave. They cried, and I cleaned up. They broke things, and I paid for repairs. The silence between me and Lena stretched like piano wire. No apology. No call. Nothing. Then the first headline hit social media. A finance blog picked up a leaked screenshot of Lena and Kellen's business proposal. The projections were fake, clearly copy-pasted from an unrelated pitch deck. Dana and I had already found the original source. All it took was one anonymous tip and a well-placed link. The comments exploded. Isn't she the one who bailed on her loan? Wow. #WellnessQueen is just another fraud in yoga pants. Didn't her sister fund that whole thing? Lena shut down the comments, but it was too late. The story spread. Kellen's investors started pulling out, and their supposed brand launch accounts were suddenly inactive. The only posts left were old photos of yoga retreats, smoothie bowls, and beach sunsets. Gloss over guilt. Meanwhile, the collection agency wasn't slowing down. They reached out to me again, this time to confirm asset reallocation. The family's waterfront condo was being listed. I remembered it well. That place was supposed to be part of my inheritance. Roger had promised when I was 16 that the condo would one day be mine, then remortgaged it to fund Lena's art school business course in Italy. I never saw the deed again. Now it was for sale, and I bought it, quietly, through a holding company Dana set up. 60 cents on the dollar. No bidding war. Clarissa and Roger needed the money fast. I didn't move in. Not yet. But I walked through it one afternoon, the real estate agent smiling, oblivious to the history soaked into the floorboards. Lena's framed quote still hung in the kitchen. Manifest.
Trust.
Receive. I should have added. And manipulate.
Lie.
Disappear. A few days later, I received the first real message from Lena. It was a voice note. Her usual breathy voice was replaced by something bitter, cracked. Maya, I don't know what you told them, but Kellen and I are stuck. The cards won't work. My accounts are locked. You need to fix this. Mom and Dad are a mess. This is cruel. Cruel. I played the word over and over. Was it cruel to hold someone accountable? Or just new? I didn't reply. But I did watch her next Instagram post, tears streaming down her face tilted at the perfect angle, as she sobbed into her ringlit phone about being betrayed by her own sister. I typed one comment, and sent it before I could overthink. You should have read the contract. She deleted the post within an hour. Roger called me that night. For once, he didn't ask how I was. He just said, "Your mother's not sleeping." "She's not my mother," I replied, and he went quiet. "You always had a good head," he finally said, like it was a compliment. "We never meant to push everything on you." "Yes, you did," I answered. "Every time you watched me pay for your decisions, every time you let Clarissa take from me so Lena could live better. You meant it. You were strong enough to handle it." "No," I said softly. "I was desperate enough to survive it." He didn't argue. Dana and I continued collecting evidence. It wasn't hard. Lena and Kellen weren't exactly discreet. We had screenshots of emails where they joked about dumping the debt and starting over somewhere tropical. They weren't hiding. They thought no one would ever call their bluff. And that's when we found something else. Dana called me one afternoon, excitement in her voice. "They forged part of the business plan," she said. "The investor list? It's fake. Half those people don't exist." I wasn't surprised. But I was angry. Angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. Angry that I ever believed the crying. Angry that I let myself carry the weight they all dropped without a second thought. Dana submitted the file anonymously to the federal fraud reporting system. We didn't need recognition. We wanted results. And we got them. The fraud investigation opened 2 weeks later. Kellen tried to reach me next. A new number. A casual tone. "Hey Maya, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We can work something out. I know you're not the type to ruin people." I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the voicemail to the agency's legal team. That same day, I got a call from Clarissa. No more sweetness. Just venom. "You are destroying this family." "No," I said calmly. "You did that years ago. I just stopped pretending it was whole. You'll regret this. One day you'll need us. I needed you when I gave up my grad school admission, so Lena could go to Europe. I needed you when Dad nearly died, and I was left covering the hospital bills. And you weren't there. So no, Clarissa, I think I'm done needing you." She hung up. That night, Dana came over with a bottle of wine. We sat on the balcony of my apartment and watched the Seattle skyline glow in silence. "How do you feel?" she asked finally. I thought for a long time before answering. "Like I'm waiting," I said. "Like I've lit the fuse, and I'm just watching it burn toward the explosion." She raised her glass. "To fire, then?" I clinked mine gently. "To ashes." The fuse didn't take long to reach the bomb. It was a Wednesday afternoon when the email came in from the Fraud Investigations Division. Subject line: Notice of inquiry regarding Lena Grayson and Kellen Burke. My chest tightened as I clicked it open. They were requesting my presence for statement, along with the documentation I'd submitted. Everything was happening. The truth was finally climbing out of the pit they'd buried it in. I didn't feel triumphant. Not yet. Just still. Focused. The same day, I got a call from a blocked number. I answered it.
"I don't know why."
"Maya?" It was Lena. Her voice sounded wrong. Stripped of its sweetness, cracked around the edges. "They're talking about pressing charges. About fraud. You can fix this. Please. I'm your sister." "No, you're not," I said quietly. "You're the girl my stepmother paraded around like a prize while I paid for your messes." I was scared, okay? Kellen said it was temporary. We just needed a break. You didn't need a break. You needed a plan. You needed to act like a grown adult. But instead, you ran. There was silence on the line. And then the voice I knew too well, laced with practiced pain. "You're doing this on purpose," she said, her tone brittle. "You want to see us suffer." "No," I replied. "I want to see myself finally free." She hung up. That weekend, I visited the condo, the one I now owned. I stood in the doorway for a while, just breathing in the familiar air. Clarissa's expensive taste was still stamped everywhere: the velvet curtains, the gold fixtures, the massive mirror with the words, "Trust the universe," etched in cursive. For a moment, I could almost hear her voice echo through the halls. "Let Lena rest, Maya. She's had a hard year. You can work overtime." and I always did. Now the place was empty. Just me and the silence. I walked to the balcony, the same one where Lena used to take selfies during summer brunches. I stared out at the water, phone in hand, and reread the last text I'd received from my father. We need to talk. 7 p.m. at the house. Come alone. I showed up on time, more out of curiosity than obligation. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. Like it was sagging under the weight of the lies it held. Roger was sitting on the porch steps, wearing the same coat he'd owned for 20 years. Your mother's not here, he said without looking at me. She's packing. Where's she going? He let out a slow breath. We had to let the staff go. The accounts are empty. She's moving into a rental near her sister's. I didn't answer. I just sat beside him, far enough that I could still breathe. He pulled a manila envelope from his coat and handed it to me. We found this in Lena's old room. Inside were printed screenshots, email threads, flight bookings, evidence of what Dana and I had already proven. That they'd planned it all. That Lena and Kellen never intended to pay a dime. That Clarissa had helped. That Roger had signed off without reading a single line. She left us this too, he added quietly, holding out a note. I unfolded it slowly. Maya, by the time you read this, we'll be gone. Thanks for being the reliable one. Don't worry, Mom and Dad will guilt you into fixing it like always. Love.
Al.
I stared at the handwriting. Familiar. Beautiful.
Sharp.
She never saw you as a sister, Roger said, eyes fixed on the horizon. We never saw you as a daughter. Just a solution. You let them use me, I said. You let her turn me into a bank account. I know. And now you're what, sorry? I'm trying to be. That would have meant something years ago. But now it felt like trying to unspill water.
He turned to me then.
You were always the strong one. No, I said, standing. I was the one who ran out of reasons to stay quiet. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a call from the fraud investigators. They were ready to move forward. They had enough evidence. Formal charges would be filed. Dana and I met for breakfast and I told her everything. They asked me to testify, I said. To sign a formal statement. You going to? I already did. She smiled. You ready for the storm? I've been living in it, I said. Now I get to be the lightning. Later that night, as I prepped more files, I got a final message from Kellen. Different number, same desperation. We're being detained. Our visas are gone. We're stuck. Please help us. Name your price. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I typed back. My price? Everything you took. Plus interest. Then I blocked him too. The next day, Clarissa showed up at my office. No makeup. No pretense. She looked older. Defeated. They're threatening to seize the house, she said, voice shaking. Your father's blood pressure is worse. The accounts are frozen. Lena's crying every day. I didn't look up from my desk. You should call the agency. I hear they have payment plans. She stepped closer. We're your family. You used that word like a weapon, I said. Now it doesn't mean anything. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What do you want? I want you to experience what it feels like when no one saves you, I said. I want you to sit in the mess you made. She stood there for a moment longer, then turned and walked out without another word. That night, I got the final email. The condo transfer was official. I owned it, free and clear. Maya Levinson, no cosigner. No debt. No guilt. Just my name, finally enough on its own. I thought the final part would feel more dramatic. More like a movie. But when it finally happened, it was quiet. Just a new email blinking in my inbox as I sipped coffee on my balcony, watching the Seattle fog roll over the water. Subject. Case closed. Full recovery via asset liquidation. That was it. The loan was cleared. The clause had worked. The collection agency had finished liquidating what was left of Clarissa and Roger's assets. The condo I now owned had been the final blow. It was over. My phone buzzed seconds later. A news alert. I opened it. Influencer duo Lena Grayson and Kellen Burke detained at Canadian border. Facing federal fraud charges following loan scandal. I read every line.
Twice.
They tried to sneak back into the country using temporary business visas. Sloppy, desperate, and too late. Someone had tipped off the authorities. I could guess who. The embassy had already flagged their names. The article included grainy images. Lena in a hoodie, her face covered, Kellen mid-argument with Border Patrol. They looked nothing like the glowing couple who had launched a brand under fairy lights and champagne. I felt calm.
Just calm.
Then came the text. Clarissa first. They're being held. The embassy called. They say it's serious. You need to help. Then Roger. We thought you wouldn't really go through with it. I didn't respond. I just forwarded both to Dana with the subject. And now they know. Later that day, Roger showed up at the condo. I didn't invite him in. We sat on the porch furniture, technically still wrapped in plastic. He looked like a man who'd lost everything except his regrets. You bought this place, he said, looking around like it still belonged to someone else. You sold it, I replied. Urgently, if I remember right. He nodded. You always were the smartest in the room. No, I said. I was just the one who kept the receipts. He reached into his coat pocket and handed me something. A folded photo. The three of us, me, Lena, and him, on the beach outside this very condo. I was maybe 18.
Tired.
Holding a credit card. They were laughing. I remembered what that day cost me. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said. I know better than that. But I need you to know something. I waited. Clarissa helped them plan the exit, he said. The flights, the accounts, even the influencer angle. She said it was just a temporary move. That Lena deserved a chance to make it big. I didn't flinch. And you? I signed the papers, he said. Like always. There it was. The truth. Years too late, but still. I stood, folding the photo in half and slipping it into my coat. You know what the saddest part is? I said, looking out at the sea. If you'd just once picked me over her, this might have ended differently. I know. His voice cracked. We thought you'd always be there to fix it. That's always been your mistake. That night, the fraud department scheduled the final video interview. They needed me to verify a few emails, confirm timelines. I sat with Dana in my living room, the fire crackling beside us as the investigator walked us through each document. When it was over, the agent looked into the camera and said, Ms. Levinson, thank you for your cooperation. Charges will proceed. You won't be involved further unless called as a witness. I nodded. I'll be ready. The line went dead. I looked at Dana. It's really done. She raised her glass of wine. To karma. I smiled faintly. To contracts. A few days passed in quiet. My phone stayed silent, finally free of guilt-ridden voicemails and manipulation-laced messages. The only thing left was closure. Then, as if summoned by memory, I got one final message. An unknown number. I opened it. Lena. I'm sorry. I mean it. I lost everything. Mom and Dad won't speak to me. Kellen blames me for the fraud. Please, Maya. I need help. I stared at it for a long moment. I didn't feel hate. I didn't even feel pity. I felt distance. As if she belonged to another lifetime. I typed back 6 words. Sorry doesn't repay 85,000. Then I blocked the number and deleted the thread. After that, I packed my bag and drove to the beach. The same one from the old photo. The sun was setting in soft golds and burnt orange. I stood there barefoot in the sand, the waves brushing up to my ankles, and let the wind carry away what was left of that version of me, the version who begged to be seen, who sacrificed without thanks, who mistook endurance for love. The old Maya died quietly, not with a scream, but with a choice. I chose myself, not because I was cruel, but because they were. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted peace. Sometimes freedom doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives with silence, with stillness, with your name finally standing on its own. No cosigners. No apologies.
Just me.
And for the first time in my life, that was enough.